Hello, Gold Derbyites. Welcome back to another edition of Awards Magnet. I'm Deputy Editor Ethan Alter, joined this week by Senior Editors Mia McNeese and Denton Davidson, in for Kevin Sullivan. Welcome, Denton.
I'm excited to be here. We're talking docs and short films and international. It's all my bag of tricks.
All your areas of expertise. We're having the real deep dive expert on here with a week to go until the Oscars happen. So this way people can fill out their prediction ballots from the most knowledgeable about these categories on staff. So it's good.
Just do what Denton says, everyone. That's going to be your takeaway.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't want to be the downfall, but
hero or goat, either way. We'll choose hero. We'll go with hero in this case. By the time you're listening to this on Friday, Oscar voting will be officially over. Pencils go down on March 5th, which is Thursday. We're recording this on a Wednesday. You're hearing this on Friday, so voting has ended by the time that you'll be listening in. And it's crazy to think it's been a wild sort of end of period here, mainly because of the actor awards, which actually threw a lot of drama into this race that seemed in some cases settled. And I think we're still sort of dealing with the aftermath from the actor races as a result. It was a big night. We covered every angle, and we've seen our odds really rapidly shift after some of the big wins, especially Michael B. Jordan in Best Actor, and over in the Best Supporting Actor is Sean Penn repeating his victory over Stellan Skarsgård. So there's definitely a lot of movement on the boards, a lot of chances to change. And Mia, I unfortunately, I do have to say, both of us lost out on getting our heated rivalry cottage. We took the underdog. I took Rose Byrne in Best Actress. You took Ethan Hawke in Best Actor.
Never again. Yeah.
We will not be visiting the Canadian cottage country anytime soon.
No, it's not in our cards anytime soon.
I will say that disabused me. Finally, I've done away with predicting Rose Byrne and Best Actress. I'm like, okay, that pipe dream is over. It's Jessie Buckley. She's number one in my odds. Actor awards help confirm that. So I thank the actors for giving us that definitive answer. I think
you dig your heels in when you dig your heels in. I will say that about you, Ethan. I mean, you will hold on until the bitter end.
It's true. I want to see it all the way until there's something definite. And in this case, we got the definitive answer with Jessie Buckley.
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, we're also seeing a big shift in Best Picture with Sinners win. And let's be honest, actors are dramatic. So when they win there, they look very dramatic. They're crying, they're sobbing, they're cheering. I'm hoping that as many people as possible follow Sinners right off the Best Picture ledge, because I think One Battle is still winning this. In a preferential ballot, they got DGA, PGA. It's not a done deal at all, but I'm still banking on One Battle. Now, Jordan, on the other hand, I am ready to say he can win Best Actor after that, because those awards have been split. Chalamet lost BAFTA. The SAG Awards really the only industry award that we saw. Golden Globes and Critics' Choice are just a bunch of snobby critics and people who love movies, but it's not the industry. It's not overlapping with the Academy. So I'm all in for Michael B. Jordan at this point.
Okay. How about you, Mia? Are you switching over to the Michael B. Jordan train now?
I think you could just see the excitement in the room. I mean, starting with Viola Davis, who read off his name and literally had almost fainted. She was so excited. So I think everybody stood to their feet. You could just see the love in that room for him, for the movie. And then obviously his speech was, as Denton pointed out, very emotional, thanking his mom and going to auditions. So, wow, I think that night was an all-around win for him and really puts his chances up much higher for the Oscars.
Yeah, no, it's still tough. I mean, Timothée Chalamet certainly has the Marty Supreme success to look to. That movie is so much about him that was really sold on his back. He hasn't won before. He's been in the mix a lot, so that's all feeding into his narrative. But the Jordan narrative is in these closing days really strong. It was a great time for him to win, a great audience to be in front of, and as you said, Mia, the reaction to him was so great. That's going to go a long way, I think, as people are filling out their final ballots and finishing it up.
Especially since it's happened while they're filling out ballots, it's fresh in their mind. I mean, you really couldn't buy this kind of publicity or, push towards the very end.
And Buckley's the only sweeper this year. She's the only one that's won everything all season. Sometimes 4 actors do, a lot of times 3. This is the most exciting acting race outside of Best Actress that we've seen in years.
Although Rose Byrne did win a few precursors, which led me credence to the whole underdog theory. That's why I kept hanging on to that for so long. She won at New York Film Critics. She won at other stops along the way. Indie Spirits was another one. So there were wins that she had. I was like, oh, maybe, but yeah, no. Again, we can let that go now, I think.
But even in the televised precursors, you had Wagner beat Michael B. Jordan at the Globes in that category, and then we had a complete curveball at BAFTA, and Sean Penn losing Critics' Choice and Globe, and then winning BAFTA and SAG, and then people thought Stellan was going to win, and now where does Stellan fit in all of this? Like, what's happening? It's crazy, and it's fun. Like, this is much more fun than a lot of other years.
And we should touch on the supporting actress race, where Amy Madigan won for the actor awards, and certainly I think all of us had predicted that last week based on the sort of love that we've seen for her from the actors, especially all season. Whenever she's been at an FYC event and uses that "I've been in this business a long ass timeline," that's worked great for her and has really powered her into this spot. People love hearing that because the acting is a tough gig for veterans who've been around a long time and are able to find a breakout role like this when they get celebrated for it. It's hard not to want to reward that.
Yeah, she surged #1 now on Gold Derby's leaderboard, so it really did help her. I don't know what you guys think, how much her speech helped or hurt her, when she's kind of joking and checking out the statue. And I mean, she was kind of all over the place. It wasn't a Michael B. Jordan type speech about her trying. So, I mean, she did say, as you mentioned, Ethan, like, she's been in this business a long time and it meant a lot to her, but then it was kind of all over the place. So but I enjoyed it. I mean, I like those kind of speeches that aren't so planned and kind of seemed like the person actually was super surprised. But I'm curious about, what others thought about the speech and if that will kind of impact her chances at the Oscars.
I don't know if the speech help or hurt her. I do think, like, it makes her endearing. I mean, it was funny. Like, you can't dislike her. So I think that helps. Yeah. I think that race in particular is the toughest because she is the sole nominee of a horror movie, and that is not a common path. And we just have to look back to last year when Demi Moore won SAG and Critics' Choice, and she wasn't even the lone nominee. That film won makeup, but she still lost at the Oscars. So is Amy Madigan going to suffer that same sort of fate? We don't know, because last year, of course, Mikey Madison won BAFTA. This year, Wunmi Mosaku won BAFTA. That just doesn't seem to track to me, like, into Oscar. But then you have Tiana Taylor, who's in the Best Picture frontrunner, but she hasn't won since the Globes. And I don't remember the last time someone, if it's happened, went from only the Globe to the Oscar. So none of them have a clean path, which is why that is sort of the most divisive race among the acting contenders that there is right now.
What's interesting to me is depending on how things shake out, we could have sort of two veterans of the industry winning supporting with Amy Madigan and Sean Penn, and then in lead categories we have sort of relatively newer faces in the forms of Jordan and Buckley, who and in Jordan's case especially, he's 39, so he sort of might be out of that that sort of young age that Academy voters don't always recognize, which is the thing that Timothée Chalamet has been hit with. Is he too young to win Best Actor? At 39, it seems like maybe that's over the whatever age hump is required for Academy voters who want to cast their ballots.
He's old enough. It's fine, you guys. He's 39. Give it to him. It's okay. What are you waiting till? He can't walk up on the stage? Like, it's 39 is reasonable.
And just to bring it back to Madigan a little bit, I do think that having Taylor and Wunmi, those two sort of might cancel each other out a little bit and make even a little bit more of a path for Amy, because a lot of the times the narrative is if it's a close race, go with whoever is in the Best Picture frontrunner. And those two are in the two movies that are in a very close battle for Best Picture. So that prestige vote could be split between those two. And that does even open the path for Amy a little bit more than usual, I would say.
Marty Supreme has been up for a bunch of awards at various precursor ceremonies and really hasn't won anything at this point. And Timothée Chalamet is certainly their main hope. But him having yet to win is a big sign that maybe that movie just doesn't have the support across the board. It always seemed sort of an also ran in some of those other categories anyway. But it'll be interesting if it ends the season not winning any of the major statues. Like that really speaks to that the trouble that movie's faced since it's open and really got embraced and did well at the box office.
Yeah, it really hasn't been able to hold on. Remember when you were at the screening at the New York Film Festival, and it was like the surprise screening, everyone was going crazy for it, and then it was like the one we hadn't seen yet, and then it just didn't keep up the hype for it. And I don't know, there was probably several reasons with, Timmy's campaign, maybe the film itself, but it just has not held on. I don't see it, really performing that well at the Oscars after we've gone through all of these shows and seen what it's picked up, and more so what it hasn't picked up.
There's a lot of divisive people involved. I would say, like, there's people that for whatever reason are turned off by Timothy Chalamet. Some people think his campaigning was serious when he was clearly joking. There's a lot of people that are very turned off by Kevin O'Leary popping up everywhere for this film. And there's even people that, unlike me, don't care for Gwyneth Paltrow. I think she's fantastic, but I mean, there's and the Safdies. I mean, they're getting their own hit with critiques. So there's just so much that hit this movie, and on top of that, he plays a despisable character. So it's tough. I don't think he's completely out of it. I would never say he has no chance of winning Best Actor in 2 weeks, but his path is definitely muddied at this point after having lost BAFTA and the actor.
Yeah, and I would encourage everyone to read our colleague Marcus James Dixon's piece who went into the various reasons why maybe Marty Supreme fell off the board, why it hasn't hit the target quite as much. And what I go back to, again, thinking, Mia, as you said, at New York Film Festival, it was received so well in that room. But at the same time, watching, I was like, how will this play elsewhere? And I have to admit, I was surprised when it wound up getting the nominations it did. And part of me almost thinks, like, did people just write it down hearing the buzz? And not only now they're just seeing it, now that they're voting, you're like, oh, wait, actually, I don't like this. I don't know how much, like, that might just be conspiracy brain there, but that is occurring to me. Like, did they actually watch it when they voted for it the first time around? Or are they only now seeing what they put up there?
That's a good point. I think it's a kind of a tough movie for audiences. There's no likable characters. There's a lot going on at all times. So it's entertaining, but I don't know if it, obviously it's not really resonating with a lot of people.
But that's sort of our take on how the actor awards unfold and where they're going and where we're thinking in the main acting categories, which will make it Oscars a very exciting night. But we wanted to spend some time, especially with Denton here, on some of the races that we haven't had a chance to talk about as in depth yet. Starting with Best Documentary. Which is it's shaping up to be a really interesting category this year. I don't know if there's been one movie that you can designate as the front runner. Whereas last year we did have one in the form of No Other Land that did very well at all the precursor ceremonies. This one, this year, it definitely has been a lot of different films winning. And I have to admit, I haven't seen every documentary, but Denton, you have, so you can sort of walk us through the race a little bit. What right now it looks like The Perfect Neighbor is being predicted currently on the leaderboard. That's number one. Do you think that's the one to beat?
It is the one to beat, but it's not a slam dunk. And here's why. A lot of people thought the biggest hurdle that The Perfect Neighbor would have would be to get the nomination. It's the most popular documentary of the year by far. It was huge on Netflix. People were outraged by it. And it's this beautifully edited film that uses nothing but body cam footage and, police room, interrogation room footage. And it's all edited together seamlessly with no talking heads or anything like that. However, it lost at the PGA, but it lost to Mariska Hargitay's documentary about My Mom Jane, which isn't an Oscar nominee. Then she lost at the DGA, but she lost to Mstislav Chernov for 2,000 meters to Andrivka. So it's losing along the way, but it's not losing to its competitors. However, the one major award that it did lose was the BAFTA, and it did lose to Mr. Nobody Against Putin, which is a nominee here. So there's the hurdle. The other hurdle that The Perfect Neighbor has is the Alabama solution, which is equally as brilliant, but also The Perfect Neighbor and the Alabama solution are both very American and specifically African-American stories. Does that cause a vote split and open the door even more for Mr. Nobody Against Putin? It certainly could. I think Come See Me in the Good Light is beautiful, and it's like it'll make you cry and smile, and it's really kind of the most heartwarming of them. And then Cutting Through Rocks is sort of falling through the cracks of those rocks in all of this. But I mean, we're hearing a lot of votes for The Perfect Neighbor and the Alabama solution and Mr. Nobody Against Putin. So I think it's actually a 3-film race right now. And I still give the edge to The Perfect Neighbor, but I'm really hesitant to say it's a slam dunk.
Right. how much do you think that the sort of real world events play into some of those votings? And I was certainly No Other Land last year hit at a very timely moment as we were looking at what was happening in Israel and Gaza, and it told a story that hadn't been spotlighted before. And this year it feels like with all the attention on Russia and Putin, that could be the reason why that film maybe could jump up there. Do you think people are reacting to what the headlines are saying?
They definitely are. I mean, we saw with No Other Land, of course, and then the year before, Mstislav Chernov won for his documentary, which was also about the war in Ukraine. So I think it definitely does, but I think The Perfect Neighbor also is hitting on that. I think the Alabama solution is hurting because that's really about issues that are happening in prison. So it's not, I mean, it's definitely a timely thing that's happening, but it's not in the front of our news. The Perfect Neighbor, I think, made such a huge impact on viewers, and it's about racism in America, and that's always striking a chord. And when we're having moments and seeing things at the actor awards with Sinners and having sort of these cultural, emotional responses to things, and I think it does make a difference. So I don't know, but Mr. Nobody Against Putin, it could absolutely pull it off here. The doc branch has a tendency to go for the most depressing things possible, but once they open the vote wide to the whole academy, then the more populist sort of pick can come through. I think The Perfect Neighbor is definitely the most watched film in this group.
And certainly it has the benefit of being on Netflix, which makes it available globally. So I'm sure it's the most widely seen probably of all the nominees too.
And Come See Me in the Good Lights on Apple. So I mean, they are streamable, but Mr. Nobody Against Putin's not in English. It's just not as an accessible of a film. It's an international film, so that has a little bit of a stake against it, as well as are people going to relate to it as much? It's not in the English language.
But Netflix has a good track record in this particular race. They've had multiple documentaries win, and I definitely think they make these films really readily available, which I think helps a lot when it comes to the sort of the voter and viewer reaction. Thank you for filling us in on the documentary side of things. Let's jump to international. We've talked a little bit about that, but you've in previous ones. But since you've also done all the international coverage, it seems like it's going to be a neon film one way or the other. But is there any chance in your mind that Voice of Hind Rajab upset happens, or is it just not widely seen enough? I'm thinking if it's another No Other Land situation where it's very tough.
It's just not going to happen. It's not. I loved that movie. It's heartbreaking, but it's just not going to happen. There's a lot of, we're going to get into this, and short films that are focused on like the Palestinian experience of everything happening over there. I don't think any of them are going to actually come through at the Oscars. I think it's interesting to watch it all play out, but the international film itself, I think Sentiment of Value, it had such a huge breakthrough with all the nominations that it received at the Oscars. I think that's the clear favorite. And now that it won the BAFTA, I think that really solidified itself as the favorite for Best International Feature. The Secret Agent, of course, won the Globe and Critics' Choice. So that was seen as the front runner up until like maybe even the Oscar nominations came out and we saw how many Sentimental Value got. And before that, it was Just an Accident, which won the Palme d'Or. Everyone thought that was going to win. So this race has been like crisscrossing all over the place. And what's interesting is we talked about how international films are represented in like all 24 of the nomination categories. Surat is in for sound. People were thinking it was going to win sound. So it was a huge breakthrough year for international film. But now at the end of the day, as like the cards are falling, like we're like, is Wagner Moura going to win Best Actor? Probably not. Is Stellan Skarsgård going to win Supporting Actor? Probably not. So it's like they got all these breakthroughs, but now it's like it's probably just going to be Best International Feature, and none of them will probably win anything else, which is kind of sad. I don't know. Like I was excited for this year, but now it's like it came to like an anticlimactic end for all these fabulous international films.
Yeah, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Mia, where are you going in international right now? Do you have sentimental value at number one, or do you think Secret Agent could slip in there?
Nope, I think it's going to be sentimental value. I was shocked by how many nominations they got on Oscar morning. It was just like one after the other. And I think when we're talking about this particular body of voting, we saw what they liked. They got so many. So I really think it's going to be sentimental value. But I think, as Santa mentioned, there's 3 really strong candidates. I mean, you have the Secret Agent, was great, had also got a lot of wins and accolades. And same with It Was Just an Accident, another super strong, interesting, timely film. I mean, when you have the screenwriter actually getting arrested for some of the things that are being discussed in the film, you can't get more timely than that. But I think just based on the nominations alone and the film itself, it will be sentimental value.
And Jafar Panahi, I spoke with him, and I mean, he didn't want to play too much into it because he doesn't want to be seen as so I'm speaking on behalf of him. This is not his words, but I think there was frustration with his inability to campaign because of travel bans. He wasn't able to get anywhere. He couldn't get to the UK at all until the BAFTA Awards. He couldn't get to South America. So he had a lot of issues really promoting this film anywhere outside of America where he could get to intermittently. So I think he kind of was at a disadvantage in that case.
I will say certainly all eyes are on Iran right now, again, considering what's happening in that country. So the fact that it's happening during the final week of voting, I wonder if that means people are going to, because it seems like the big issue facing It Was Just an Accident is, despite all the acclaim, maybe just people didn't feel that it was something they could see or wanted to see. The Secret Agents seemed to occupy the political drama lane, and they're sort of neglecting the fact that It Was Just an Accident is actually, in a way, one of his most commercial movies. It's almost a thriller in its way. It's also got a lot of humor in it. So it is interesting to me that it seemed like people were maybe just reluctant to push play on it. And I don't know if that fed into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about sentimental value, though, we're talking about international film, but this is a universal story, right? It takes place. It's a film from Norway, but it's a film about dad and daughters. So it really does have a more kind of relatable story that could resonate from anywhere in the world where you're watching it from. Anyone can relate to it. So I do think, if you're just going based on just story too, I think it will really resonate with a lot of voters and viewers.
Well, Denton, you saw almost every shortlist international candidate as well, which is interesting. Is there any that you're sorry didn't make the final cut? Is there one in particular you were rooting for?
I mean, no other choice. I mean, of course, was one of my favorites. And the fact that Park Chan-wook has still never been nominated for an Oscar. There was, again, time we thought that he was going to get nominated for the adapted screenplay as well. And it just didn't pan out. So, I mean, yeah.
I was a big fan of the Japanese film Kokuho about the kabuki drama. It's a great 3-hour epic. It reminded me of Farewell My Concubine, the great Chen Cage film. So I really like that one. I think G-Kids is just used to be an animated distributor. This was one of their first big live action releases. I think they were a little late getting it out on this shore. So I'm sorry that one didn't really take off. But it's still a terrific movie, and I think it's out there for people to see.
Yeah, completely agree. Tom Cruise was out there stumping for that.
That's right. They couldn't even get the cruise bumps at the last minute. All right. Well, let's jump into the short film races, because those are I enjoy the short film categories every year. It's always interesting to see what directors are working there, what kinds of stories are being told there. And what's interesting is every year it feels like there's one category that's stronger than the other. Some years the animated films are the best. Some years it's live action. This year I actually think the documentary categories strike me as the best grouping. Would you agree, Denton? Do you think of the 3 categories, which has the strongest lineup?
I definitely think documentary has the strongest lineup. It also takes the longest to watch, because a short film can be up to 40 minutes, and a lot of the animated ones are 10 minutes, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm done in an hour. But this is, I think it was pushed, I don't know, 2.5 hours. It was 3 hours. But yeah, they're all incredibly depressing. They all just make you wonder why we're in this world. But at the same time, some of them are a little more inspirational than others. But they're all timely. This is a very tough race. the current front runner is All the Empty Rooms, and as I was saying, it's about the empty. It's sad. It's about the empty rooms of children who've been lost in mass school shootings. And Mia, I know that immediately sort of triggered you, right? If
Yeah,
you
I mean, I did watch the trailer for it and I just couldn't watch it. So I don't know how many other, fellow viewers, moms, people are going to be in the same boat where, we have very limited time and I don't know, if we want to devote ourselves to sit down and watch that. So, I mean, Denton, you can let me know. Maybe I'm really missing out, but it was just seemed too hard to actually sit through and watch for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to the individual. I mean, all of these movies are done well. That's why they're nominated for Oscars. So it's, but I mean, like everyone has their own sort of emotional ties to things, I think. And I can see it's not lost on me that that it might be hard for parents to watch. And does that impact it at the Oscars? I don't know. There was an animated short. Now the name is slipping out of my mind. And there was an animated short recently that won. That was about a girl who died in a school shooting. So I think people are used to sort of the heavy themes, and I still think that is the front runner for documentary short. But there's also, I mean, you can talk about the other ones if you'd
Right.
like.
Well, the one that I actually have number one right now, because it made mainly because I thought it was the best of the bunch, was "The Devil Is Busy," which is about abortion access, and it follows some of the volunteers at a specific abortion facility and the difficulties they're facing now in this current landscape. I thought that was a really really well done film, and speaking to the moment, I thought, oh, if enough people see this, I can see them really putting this at top of the ballot, even with the All the Empty Rooms, which is another really great film. But The Devil Is Busy really struck me as a really insightful portrait of a very timely subject.
It's it. If I was voting, I would vote for it. It's a character study on it. Really focuses on like mostly on one person and how she goes through her day to day, like working and getting access and keeping people safe at an abortion clinic while there's people outside protesting every day saying they're all going straight to hell and sort of threatening them with violence on a constant basis. So I mean, and that's also, it's also just sort of like pulling at the heartstrings.
One of my favorites, I have to say, after all the heavy subject, as you said, is is Perfectly a Strangeness, which I guess is best described as the donkey movie, and it's just 15 minutes of donkeys wandering around this sort of moon-like landscape where there's an observatory close by, and it's just this great observational film, and it's a perfect in the program when you watch it. That's the last film they show, and it's almost a perfect palate cleanser to the whole experience. You're just like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna watch a bunch of donkeys now wandering around the screen. This is great.
Oh my God, could not be more here for that, Ethan. Like that sounds like way more my cup of tea.
It's perfectly titled Perfectly a Strangeness. Like I was watching and I was like, how did this get nominated? What am I watching? Like it's literally like they put like body cams on donkeys and sent them up a hill to an observatory. It like I that wins my jaw will drop. That would be the only shocking winner of this group for me.
I would almost love that. They could bring the donkey out on stage to accept the Oscar and everything. It'd be
And then there's Children No More War and Gone. That's about Israeli peace activists holding vigils for Gaza, for child victims of Gaza. I mean, again, very timely, very sad. And I was saying earlier, there's a lot of films about this sort of circling around this sort of subject matter in different categories. And I really just don't think any of them are going to prevail. And I think this is another one that I just don't see among the top three.
So you have All the Empty Rooms as number one. That's the one you're going with.
Yeah, but I will say Armed with Only a Camera. Also very hard. It's about the journalist Brent Renaud who was killed in Ukraine covering war. Also very powerful. I felt like that one. I just feel like a jerk, like saying bad things about like something so personal to people. But like I just thought it was maybe too long. It was a little too convoluted with too much happening. Like it could have been a little bit more focused for a short doc. That's my only feeling there. And I think that All the Empty Rooms really sort of held focus more.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I felt the same. I had some similar feelings about as a film armed with a camera that it did feel like it could have been a little more condensed, a little more focused than it ultimately ended up being. But yeah, no. So that I have that towards the bottom of my rankings as a result. Again, not purely for form rather than content in that case. And that's always, I think, the push pull with this category. Why are you rewarding the content, or is it the film itself? And in that way, the Donkey movie, I think, is one of the most interesting formal movies. And if it won, I don't think I would not be upset at that. I think it's a really well made documentary for what it is, even if it's not quote unquote an important subject that they're tackling there. All right, so that's documentary. Let's turn to best live action short next. And here, my number one, and not just because I interviewed the directors, I really love Two People Exchanging Saliva. I think that's just a great, it's a great short. It tells a great story. It's beautiful to look at. I love the black and white cinematography. That one works very well for me. So I have the number one, but then number two, and I think, again, speaking to the timeliness factor, Butcher Stain, which is, again, an Israeli Palestine story. I think it told through the context of a grocery store where there's someone's suspected of pulling posters about hostages off the wall is sort of the main brunt, and then it gets into the prejudice. So that's something that seems to me as number two. But Den, where are you going with this category?
I have a different top two, but I will say this is a category that I think could go five ways. I mean, this is one where I don't think there's a clear victor or a clear loser. So there will be no judgment from me. I agree with you that my personal favorite was Two People Exchanging Saliva. I thought it was creepy and weird and odd. I don't know if it's as accessible as some of the other films, and it's not in the English language. It's a little dark. It's a little longer. So I don't know if everyone's going to get through it at the same pace. That's why I have a little trouble with that one being at the top. I think the top two are A Friend of Dorothy and The Singers. And I'm going back and forth on those. I think they're both the most feel-good. The Singers is the most accessible. It's on Netflix. Over 5 million people have streamed it already. It's American. It's these guys that are just, I feel like they talk about like steak eater voters in the Academy. Like this is what steak eaters might vote for. And it makes you laugh. It makes you chuckle. But it's very simple. Like, is it too simple? It's sort of dark to look at. But I just feel like it's the most accessible and could get the widest swath of voters. So I have that, but I'm debating between that and A Friend of Dorothy, which is about acting and hopes and dreams. And it has two recognizable actors, and Miriam Margolyes and Stephen Fry. So that can help that. It's about acting. It's a nice little nod in the title to the gay community. So I don't know. This one's Jane Austen's period drama. Hilarious. It's like a sketch, but are people going to vote for a movie about menstruation? I don't know.
Desmond, I'm so glad you said that. It made me laugh out loud. I have not laughed out. It's really witty and funny, and I don't know if it's going to win, but that, like you said, it is like a sketch, but it's really well done and funny. But I do think Singers is going to take this category. I just think it's heartfelt, it's unexpected, it has a good message, and like you said, it's been seen by the most amount of people. So and it was inspired by, I think, Mike Young, who was like a subway busker. The director saw him kind of performing in the subway and got this idea, and then all of these men coming together at the end. I feel like that is gonna probably be at the top at least. But also Friend of Dorothy, I think, is really a strong number two, and I spoke to Mary Margolyes and the director Lee Knight at the Oscar luncheon, and they were so fun to speak to. And he said he kind of wrote this with her in mind, or, wanted her in mind for this whole movie, and she's perfect in it. She's had her own long established career, and really kind of a sweet moment for her in this sweet story in this film. So those two are my top two as well. Although Jane Austen's period drama really made me laugh.
She's a legend. She's in one of the all-time great bad movie musicals, which is The Apple from 1980. Highly recommended. Anyone check that out if you can. It is a classic of bad taste in every possible way.
We should also note, so in our Gold Derby odds, the leaders right now are A Friend of Dorothy for live action shorts, All the Empty Rooms for documentary, and then The Butterfly for animated. We haven't gotten into that yet. But I just want to say, like Gold Derby in these shorts, we almost never get all three right. So take a risk. Like anyone vote, anyone making your predictions out there, like pull an Ethan and just shoot from the hip on some of these, and you might surprise us and surprise yourself. And that's what it's going to take to win the predictions contest. Is you have to take risks. Otherwise, I mean, you're going to be one of like thousands of losers. Like second place is the first loser, or you're going to be the winner. So like, come on, what do you want?
Yeah, this is a really good category to do that in because it really is up for grabs and there's some really great films in here. So I think this would be the category to take a risk on for sure.
Take a risk and cling to it. Cling to it. All right, let's end off by talking about best animated short. And here I have Butterfly at number one, mainly for the style of it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's an impressionistic short. It uses watercolor-like a painting style to tell its story, which is set in World War II and touches on themes of the Holocaust and things along those lines. And it otherwise, this category, it was definitely felt the weakest of the three this year. The collection of films just didn't really stand out to me. I thought there was some The Girl Who Cried Pearls was a beautiful stop motion film formerly, but I felt it was a little too long. It didn't quite work for me in that way. And then there's also, I think, the my least favorite of any of the shorts, which was Forever Green, a CGI story, eco story about a bear who befriends a tree that I'm a little surprised got into the race at all. But Denton, where are you going in the best animated category?
I'm with you. I could barely have been more disappointed in the group that we've been presented with. I thought I was completely unimpressed. I'm going with The Butterfly, mostly because it's about a Jewish French Olympic swimmer, Holocaust survivor. I mean, the story writes itself, and then you think of all of that, and it's just like there's so much to unpack, and it's kind of like the beautiful watercolor, as you said. It's just it's a good story. It's nicely done, and the competition is weak. The Girl Who Cried Pearls, I think, is kind of the coolest to look at, but again, I wasn't like really into the story at all. Forever Green. Usually, we say the winner is going to be whatever short animated film is about like a cute little animal. Which in this case would be that if it wasn't so basic and boring. Like we don't even really care about the animal that much. It's sad to see the tree burn. I don't know, not that captivating. And then Retirement Plan and The Three Sisters were basically sketches. I'm not into either of those two. I didn't really get The Three Sisters. They're like these three horny sisters that just can't wait for some guy to come save them on a boat. I feel like it's demeaning. Like I feel like a lot of people are going to be turned off by the message of that. Like it's like it's just sort of pathetic. So anyway,
They needed one with donkeys. That seems to be.
There we go. Exactly.
I would rather be with the donkeys.
No, but it's true. That was an odd short. Like the message of that was like, oh, okay, so
like they need
they need
a man to save them? Like I just didn't understand the point of the message. Maybe I received it wrong. I don't know.
No, I think this was a weak year for the animated lineup, sadly. But it's like that. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the shorts. Every year you can count on there being like, and it's never the same. I feel like it changes every year about what category is strongest and which is the weakest. So.
And Retirement Plan was more about the poem that went along with it. It was more about the writing than the animation itself. So it was a beautiful poem, but that's what it was. It was a poem.
But Butterfly here, I feel the most confident in that pick. I think it's the one that does the best job of form and, to your point, content. Like that story has been rewarded multiple times before, but not quite in this form. So it makes sense that this would be the one to win.
I'm with you.
All right. Well, those are the short races, and they're still out there. But the short programs are still out there in theaters, and I believe they'll be released digitally soon. So definitely make a point to see them. Even the weakest category, it's always fun to see what kind of short films are out there because shorts are great. They're one of they're a sadly too underseen art form these days. I think it's great that the Academy is still recognizing them and honoring them, and hopefully when it moves to YouTube in 3 years, they'll keep them there, and maybe add more. Maybe add more.
A short Oscar though, like maybe just a shorter Oscar.
There we go. Yeah, I think that works. All right. Well, let's end up because next week we're going to be doing our final Oscar predictions. I think it'd be fun to sort of look back on some of the early films that we were originally speaking about in the Oscar conversation that have since fallen by the wayside as we've gone along. Obviously, we talked about Wicked for Good and Avatar: Fire and Ash and all the ones I went dead end on. But there are other ones that we lost along the way, and I think certainly going back to Jeremy Allen White and Springsteen: Born to Run. That was one that when that film premiered, it was all like, oh, oh, the Bear actor is going to be in Best Actor contention. Sadly, that did not prove to be the case. Jay Kelly was another one that sort of fell off along the way. When you look back, Mia, at some of the films we were talking about in the conversation, is it funny? Do you think like, oh yeah, how did we ever think that was going to be a thing?
Yeah, it's so strange when you look back, I mean, and we were at the New York Film Festival and we saw Springsteen, and Bruce Springsteen was there, and there was so much hype and buzz around the film. And then that just did not hold. Same with Jay Kelly, the whole cast was there. It was like the first time everyone was seeing the film and everyone was so excited about it. And again, that fell off. I remember, really early on in LA going to a screening in Netflix of House of Dynamite. You guys probably remember. And I was like, this movie's amazing. It's going to win. And like, nope, wrong there. So there's a lot of them. Even, Is This Thing On kind of had some early buzz with Bradley Cooper behind it and Will Arnett, but that just did not pick up the steam either. So it's so interesting to see what kind of comes out of the gate really fast and you think is going to stay in the race and then just does not.
You saved one big one for me. I was listening. I'm like, are they going to name this one? There was a moment when Jeremy Allen White was leading for Best Actor. Who was Best Actress? At the time, Julia Roberts.
I know,
After the Hunt, another huge disappointment. That was devastating when that came out. I was like, no, Julia Roberts is going down.
Right.
But yeah, that was another big one we lost.
Right. Absolutely. And then the two Toronto ones, I remember Rental Family and Roofman, which especially Roofman, which again, I think in another era in the 90s. Yeah, Roofman was great.
Both of those films are great. Great films. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I think if we were still in the 90s, I likened Roofman to Jerry Maguire. I think that would have been the era for that movie. It's definitely a throwback to a movie star driven studio project that once upon a time would have been, I think, more in the awards conversation than it ended up being. And and Rental Family was also shocked me because it was really warmly embraced. I still hear people recommending it because now it's out there in the world on digital platforms and people are catching up with it and are like, oh, I really loved Rental Family. So it just never seemed to find its own lane to move in such a crowded landscape.
Yeah, especially with Brendan Fraser too, and him winning the Oscar and then going on to this, you would think there was more, and it's a great story too. But yeah, it just didn't hold its own until up to the Oscars.
The other one I remember that came and went was Life of Chuck. I mean, that had a huge early buzz, and then it just never materialized into anything.
Right, exactly, and that even came off it was the People's Choice Award winner at the previous Toronto Film Festival, so that always adds luster to a film. But yeah, when it finally came out, people just sort of already moved on already, even with the presence of Mark Hamill and Tom Hiddleston and folks like that, and that sort of what prompted this idea. We were all sitting around Gold Derby talking about sort of the films that that we were once all in on and how they've sort of vanished as we've gone throughout the season. So it is funny. I'm already trying to think of what films that I've seen so far this year that we'll be talking about. I think Wuthering Heights, we can officially say now, probably won't be very much in the conversation by the time we get to this point next year.
No, I don't think so. But I think I don't think they're expecting it to be with putting it out this early and all of that. I think it's, it is what it is. So yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be in the awards conversation though.
What will be in the conversation will be final Oscar predictions, which are coming up next week. We're going to be here offering our final picks for what's going to win on March 15th. And so we have and now that Oscar voting is over, there's almost no more precursors that we can point to because ballots are in. The Writers Guild has their awards this weekend. A few other guild awards are trickling in, but the field is mostly set. So we'll have to wait until March 15th to finally discover whether Sinners or One Battle is taking it. Denton, you're going with One Battle. Mia, are you going with One Battle? Or are you still wavering?
Oh man, I am still wavering even as of today. I might be going back. I might be going to Sinners, but I have been One Battle this whole time. So I don't know. Well, let me mull it over. I've got a few more days.
No, I'm the same way. I want to go Sinners just so we have some drama and some variety in the room, but it is hard to overcome the One Battle dominance for sure. It definitely seems to have the prime position. But all right, well, thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back next week. Until then, happy watching, happy viewing, happy prognosticating.